You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness. But still, like life, I'll rise.
I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless.
Testing 1, 2. Good morning. Good morning. This is a special episode of the Black Newsbeat. We are here at Elementary Coffee this morning for a quick chat about Dauphin County Prison. And joining me is Miss Amanda L. Arbor. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. I know this is really quick and fast and impromptu, but I think it's for a good cause. So we've been hearing a lot about Dauphin County Prison and all the things that are happening there over the last several years. There's a podcast now, Death County, PA.
Yes.
We've heard a lot about the care that people are receiving there. So tell us, what are we talking about today? I mean, there's so much to cover, but what is the specific issue we're talking about today with DCP and why are we here?
Absolutely. So we have an opportunity to really make a significant change at DCP because the contract for healthcare services is up and likely to be considered and voted on tomorrow, Wednesday, July 30th at 10 a.m. at the commissioners meeting. And just for background, we have had Prime Care, which has been the provider for the past almost 40 years.
Yeah.
We as a community have raised many concerns about that.
Absolutely.
And 22 people have died in Dauphin County Prison since 2019 under Prime Care's care.
And we have literally been talking about this issue since 2020, before 2019. I mean, this Stop Study Harrisburg, other groups, that's the earliest one that I know of, just doing a little history of that have been organizing around deaths at the prison going back to the 80s.
Absolutely.
And then when you listen to DCP, the Death County, PA podcast, shout out to Joshua Vaughn, it really illuminates for you this long-standing issue. And if you guys haven't watched that podcast, you should definitely watch the podcast.
Yes.
Or listen to the podcast, excuse me. It is very good. Our very own Lamont Jones, who is our city council and just ran for mayor, is featured because one of his family members passed away at DCP. So yeah, there's a long history there.
Definitely. Yeah, because like we as a community have been pushing for a while. Initially we were pushing for there to be an audit of Prime Care because that had never happened in 40 years because of the corruption, the corrupt relationship between Prime Care and previous County Commissioner Jeff Pace. There was just no accountability and there was never a competitive bidding process. So we pushed for those two things and those two things happened in the past year. And now we're at a point where 5 companies have responded to this open bidding process. The commissioners have been considering those proposals and doing their due diligence. But we as a community, we've also done our due diligence and have some thoughts on that.
And talk to me about the commissioner. Why is it a push for the commissioners to do anything? Like, what is their role in all of this, and why does it matter that we contact them or talk to them about what's going to be happening tomorrow?
Yeah, so the commissioners have the ultimate authority over contracts in the county, and even though the prison board made a recommendation, it's not up to the prison board; it's up to the commissioners. A lot of the commissioners have spoken about wanting to create change and be more transparent and accountable to the community, but this is like where the rubber meets the road, right? We need them to actually do it and actually look at what companies will provide quality care and have like a good, solid track record and have acted in accountable and transparent ways in their work.
And where are we now? What's happening with the contracting and what are the issues on the table right now?
Yeah, so they have 5 proposals that they're reviewing. Again, we anticipate this being an agenda item on the meeting tomorrow. And so we as a community have done some research. We certainly don't want Prime Care. We've seen more than enough from them in terms of the harm, the deaths that they have been complicit in for the prison and the corruption that they have perpetuated. So we don't want Prime Care. Two of the companies, Yes Care and Armor, have really poor reputations overall. A lot of lawsuits, a lot of settlements, and just like a very poor reputation in terms of care that they provide. And so then we have WellPath and Medico. So WellPath actually holds the state contract for Department of Corrections. And is a very large company that provides a lot of care throughout the country. But they have a really concerning history that includes over 1,500 lawsuits that led to them filing for bankruptcy last fall. And looking into, like, when you kind of dig into it, a couple of the things that we found, one is that they also had a huge issue with corruption. So their founder and CEO, Jerry Boyle, he gave literal money as well as favors to the Norfolk, Virginia sheriff over a period of 12 years to gain their contracts for healthcare at their jail. And he was convicted of that a couple of years ago and sentenced. So we certainly don't want a repeat of what we've seen with Prime Care.
Is he still CEO?
He's not still the CEO.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
So they filed for bankruptcy,
Mhm.
and then this, or maybe before that, this corrupt CEO did the things.
Mhm.
Then they filed for bankruptcy.
Mhm.
Now they have a new CEO.
Mhm.
Has the company gotten any better?
I mean, not from what I can tell. I mean, the lawsuits, like 1,500 lawsuits, is quite significant.
That's
A
insane.
lot of settlements, and we even found that in El Paso County, there was a really high-profile death in custody, and a federal judge actually found that county liable for hiring WellPath because they had previously contracted with them, cut the contract because of poor performance, and then rehired them.
Oh no.
So, I mean, I think that's a message to our county that, like, we don't want to take on that kind of
let me get this
liability.
straight. So a county was found liable for, like, basically rehiring them and them committing more terrible acts.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
And, can we pause a moment to say, what is a healthcare company that services a prison? What are they supposed to be doing?
Yeah, I mean, they're supposed to be providing comprehensive care for the folks who are incarcerated. So it includes, doing the meds passes and managing everyone's meds, doing the intake process in the beginning to kind of see, like, in those first 24 hours, what does this person need? Responding to the med slips when people have needs. And there's also, like, a mental health aspect of it too, and dealing with, like, drug and alcohol and substance use issues. So yeah, it's like a whole package of services that need to be provided with, like, a basic minimum, like, of quality of care.
Yeah. And from what I've seen, just by being a community member, in addition to so many people passing away and deaths at the hands of, at least on the watch of Prime Care and the prison, people also complained about just subpar care overall, right? So we focus on the deaths because they are absolutely preventable and they are tragedies, but also people just aren't getting care, right? They're just not getting proper health care.
Absolutely.
And why do you think that companies like Prime Care, WellPath, and others are allowed to get away with stuff like this?
Because they can, right? And I mean, it's for profit, right? So they get a contracted amount. The less that they actually spend on providing the care, that's their profit, right? And so, in an ideal world, I think we should move away from that whole model. But where we are right now, like, these are kind of the options that we have, and kind of figuring out what is, the best option, or at least the least bad option, right? As, like, kind of a harm reduction approach to how can we, have better outcomes and fewer deaths in our prison.
And so tomorrow, the commissioners are potentially going to be voting on a new company.
Right.
So what are the choices? And I know that full disclosure, we are all organizing with a group of just community members who are very much invested in better care. And also, personally, me as a part of that group, breaking this cycle of this. I've never seen a company that holds a 40-year contract with 22, and I have been around for the whole 40 years, that has 22 deaths since 2019 and gets to keep I've never seen that. It gets to keep the contract and the money.
Right.
It's a lot of money. Like, these contracts are not cheap.
Millions of dollars.
Yes, they're millions of dollars. So I'm invested in breaking that pattern. And what's funny is I was admonished by someone, and I'll tell this personal story. I was admonished by someone who's involved with Prime Care that I was somehow hurting them by organizing around this issue. And this is not about just one person. This is about hundreds of people who have to be subject to bad care.
Absolutely.
And while there have been some recent improvements in very recent, like literally in the last 14, 15 months at the prison, it's time to actually get a company in there that's not going to have to be forced to change. And that's how I feel like we've had to do with Prime Care. We've had to like badger the county, you know, talk a lot and talk loudly, and, you know, go to the county meetings and, you know, protest. We've been out in front of that jail year after year. Who has time to keep doing this?
Yeah.
We'd like to be spending our time doing different things and put a little bit of a trust in a company that can do that. So what are our choices?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have Prime Care, which, you know, obviously no go. We don't want them anymore. We have Yes Care and Armor, which I talked about a little bit, just really poor track records, a lot of lawsuits, a lot of settlements. Then we have WellPath, which also had significant lawsuits, bankruptcy, the whole corruption thing with their CEO. And then we have Medico. So in researching these companies, Medico was really the one that stood out as like different from all the others. So they've been doing this work for 28 years. They're based in Virginia, a smaller company, but they have not had a single judgment in lawsuits in that entire 28 years, which in this industry is like very unusual. And they have only settled. Extremely unusual. And they've only settled 6 times. So I mean, that's significant in terms of their track record of quality care. And they've had no bankruptcies. Again, the only one out of these options that has had no bankruptcies, no corruption scandals, and they have no political ties to Dauphin County. And so, you know, as we're thinking about like a fresh start and, you know, wanting to move forward and provide better care, like they seem to be the clear choice out of these options, right?
Absolutely. And I know that this seems like a pattern with all of these companies. I've only lived in about 5 states in the United States, but each state I've lived in complains about the prisons, the care at the prisons, and the communities that I've lived in, you know, complain about these things. It seems pretty much like this is a pattern. If 4 out of 5 of the companies that we are reviewing, right, and that we've been researching about have had these terrible scandals, problems with care, notorious death issues, you know, basically killing prison, you know, people who are detained because they're not prisoners yet, they're detained at the prison until they get their sentencing. But why is this a pattern in this industry? What is happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a variety of things. So yeah, part of it is like the for-profit nature of these companies, right? So if they want to make more money, they're going to provide less care and less quality care. Part of it too is, you know, when folks are incarcerated, they have very little access to the outside world to be able to, you know, tell their stories and advocate for themselves about what is happening. You know, just recently, Dauphin County Prison tablets were taken away from everyone in a couple of blocks. And that's their only way of contacting loved ones, of accessing like legal resources.
And why were those tablets taken away? Why did they say?
I think it was some sort of like punishment. I would have to read Josh Vaughn's article in Penn Live to get more details. But that's the type of thing that they do. And it's like cutting off contact. So I mean, folks who are incarcerated just have very little agency or ability to communicate with the outside world about what is happening. And our society views them as disposable, you know, kind of unseen, uncared about. And, you know, that's why it's so important when we're out there protesting in front of the prison every year to be like, no, we are here. And we're seeing folks and advocating for folks.
And we do care about these people. I think that is the base, like the baseline that should be normalized, is caring about people who are in jail. For some reason, they go in there, and in many cases, even their own families stop caring. And that is also a symptom of our society, right? When you have people who are treated, who are removed from society, and it's hard for the families to even get to them. It's hard for anybody to get to them. And there's this shroud of secrecy and privacy around the whole thing. It's easy for folks to forget about them. And I think this effort, along with many other efforts, is to make sure that we don't forget about people, because any turn of events, and it could be one of us. It doesn't have to be, people think of people in jail as these habitual offenders who do all these bad things and they should be removed from society. There are a lot of people in there for drug offenses. There's a lot of people in there for nonviolent charges. There's a lot of people in there for things that other people have done and not gotten caught for, right? So they're regular people, and they are part of our society and part of our communities, and their families are here with us.
Definitely.
So caring about them, to me, seems to be a baseline that we should all be at.
For sure. And it's important to note, like in our jail, you know, about 1,000 people are there at any point in time. You know, we've finally gotten data showing that half are there pre-trial, which means they have never been convicted of any crime. They are awaiting trial. Many of them are there because they have not been able to pay their bail. And shout out to the Dauphin County Bail Fund, which is doing really amazing work, both paying folks bail to get them out and also doing court watching to hold our courts accountable.
So tomorrow, what are you wanting the outcome to be from what the commissioners have to do, which is to vote on this? What is the outcome that you're looking for?
I want them to vote for Medico to award this contract to them. You know, out of these 5 options that we've been given, you know, it is clear to me that they are the only one that I would have any hope to be a different from what we've had from the last 40 years. You know, not corrupt and not having a whole history of deaths and settlements and lawsuits. You know, I think we actually have a chance of something different. And I think that's what I want to see from our commissioners. I want a different choice than the choices that our county has been making for decades. And I want folks' health and well-being and lives to be prioritized. And I think Medico is the only choice that would put quality and accountability in people's lives forward.
And at least one of the other options, I should say, Judge Evans had, who was the president judge of Dauphin County, had suggested, and he has a conflict of interest with this, I think it's WellPath. And he has a conflict of interest. So we're truly trying not to repeat the same patterns of the past where there's ties to, you know, somebody's son who works there, who's doing this or doing whatever, and give people a chance at a fresh start. I know that we tend to be quite, what's the word for that? Internal in our choices in the county and the city. We're here in Harrisburg, and we like to keep things internal, close, people we know. But oftentimes I see that when we give a fresh pair of eyes a chance, things turn out well. They turn out different, at least. And you can have a different set of eyes on the things. Are there any concerns, do you think, with, I know some community members have raised concerns about pushing one choice, having it, feeling like it's based around, you know, a commissioner's pushing. But what do you think? Do you think there's a problem with pushing for Medico versus any of the other choices?
I mean, I think if we're going to pick a company out of these 5, I think it's Medico. Like, there's no competition in my mind. But I mean, I think people can advocate in lots of different ways, right? There's no one right way to like organize around this. And, you know, if folks want to advocate for, you know, these are the things that I value versus like, this is the company that you should pick, like, do that. You know, I think it's important that all of us, like, I think what's important to me is that we're all like educating ourselves about like, what is this process? Why is it important? What are our options? And then engaging in whatever that looks like for each person or each group. But like showing up tomorrow at Wednesday at 10 a.m. in the Dauphin County Admin Building. And whether that's, you know, I'm advocating that, you know, we urge them to vote for Medico, but if that's advocating for like, these are the things that I value, or this is how I want you to be transparent, or these are the things I'm concerned about with this process, like tell them, like we all get to tell them and engage from whatever point we're at with this. And I think that's part of the beauty of organizing that. Yeah, there's lots of ways to advocate around this.
And I know some folks are feeling concerned because they've asked for transparency with the contracts that could, or the proposals, I guess, that could be awarded a contract. Do you have any concerns over not being able to see what Medical proposed versus what Prime Care proposed?
I mean, I think it would be great if they shared those proposals publicly. I don't know the legalities around whether they can do that. I'm not sure. Like I know when I've been involved in like RFP processes and like nonprofits, like that's not things that we share publicly.
Right, exactly.
So I'm not sure like what the specific barriers might be for the county. Like I personally would love to see those proposals to like have the same information that the commissioners do.
Yes.
So yeah.
And yeah, so right. So, and then the other concern was, is there any, what is your stance on us as a community group calling for an action that's in support of a specific for-profit company? I know that's also a concern that was raised. And why aren't we just calling for a transparent process, not Prime Care?
I mean, I think initially that's what we were calling for.
Yeah.
You know, we wanted this audit, then we wanted an RFP process, and then we wanted, you know, updates along the way about how that was going. And I mean, I think at this point, you know, for-profit companies are what we have. Again, like I think that is absolutely part of the problem. That's what we have right now. And like, it's not, I'm not saying like, oh, Medico is like the best company in the world or whatever, and like that I support their business, but in terms of like the analysis of what care will be provided here, I think they're the best choice. But again, like if folks want to advocate in different ways, that's okay.
Yeah, and I think in answering my own question that I just asked,
Go for it.
that out of these 5, first you have to break whatever the heck is going on with this over 40 years business. I feel like that is a priority to get them out of there.
Yes.
Second, I think that Medico will have to come in and learn Dauphin County, and I think that is going to be important. But if there is a better company, what is stopping us from reviewing this contract every 3 years instead of every? I don't know what the frequency is now. I was trying to look to see when was the last time this came up and what that process was like, but I know it hasn't been in recent memory for me. So, or if it has, it was not transparent, right? Like Prime Care just got the contract again.
Right.
And we did, because I remember there was some talk around this 3 years ago where there was like some fishy business going on with some contracts being presented and some proposals being presented and some not. So I think first we have to I think the transparency part has come, you know, we've come a little further with it. I think the next step is breaking away from Prime Care. I don't really care how great they've done in the last 15 months. I feel like doesn't make up for the decades of harm that they've caused. And they shouldn't keep getting chances to mess up. I'm trying not to preach to them for this early. But they shouldn't keep getting chances to mess up. 15 months versus 40 years for me is just, it's a no-brainer for me as well. But I do get the concern of it not being a transparent process. I know that, you know, of our 3 commissioners, every one of them has their own kind of like stance on this, as evidenced by the meetings. I know some of them are taking meetings with outside groups because they want to make an independent choice, which is, I'm just going to go ahead and say that is the antithesis of being an elected official. And I want you guys to hear me when I say you all need to stay on your elected officials' asses. Okay, I broke the curse. But you need to stay on them, because these are the kinds of things that constituents are being told when they try to talk to their own elected official commissioners about what is going on at the prison. It is unacceptable to me that you say to any constituent, I'm not taking meetings on this matter because I want to make an independent decision. That is not your job to make an independent decision. It is your job to listen to the people that elected you, period. And even the people who didn't elect you, as a matter of fact, because once you are elected, you serve all the people. And for whatever reason, our elected officials forget this as soon as they get into the seat, and it really pisses me off. So that's why you have to stay in their asses and rent.
For sure.
So yeah. But yeah, I just want to say, I know there's a lot of concerns around this and how this process is being handled and who's doing what and which commissioner is doing what and which commissioner is being listened to and which commissioners are listening to the public. And I mean, it's a lot going on, but I feel very strongly that not prime care is the answer, but also if you're comparing the other options that are on the table to prime care, we don't want a prime care lookalike either. Exactly. At all. So what is the call to action so that folks know what they should be doing? We'll put in the chat, we will put the link. So let everyone know what the call to action is while I do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So our call to action is to show up at the County Commissioners meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, July 30th at 10 a.m. Get there early because they start right on time, and public comment is at the beginning. You have 3 minutes to give public comment, we encourage you to urge the commissioners to vote for Medico, or if you have other thoughts, tell them your thoughts on the process or what matters to you in terms of healthcare at Dauphin County Prison. If you're not able to go in person, you can also send them an email. So in the call to action that Kimeka will put in the chat, there's both an email example, like a template that you can use and personalize it as to why this matters to you. There's also a sample public comment that, again, you can personalize about why this issue is important. Also share our graphics on social media and tag the commissioners and make sure that they know that we as a community care about this. We are watching and we are going to hold them accountable to make a better decision than this county has made for a long time in relation to healthcare for folks held at Dauphin County Prison.
Yep, and it's the community care for me. Like, I think what's really important about this is that we show that we care. And that we care about people's healthcare. Like, we have fought, healthcare is under attack, period. And so not caring about people who are truly not have the same advantages as us and privileges as us, not caring about their healthcare, to me is an erosion of everything. It's an erosion of how we think about who deserves what.
Yes.
And it ultimately will affect us. And I think people don't really understand that sometimes because of the kind of individualistic, capitalistic climate that we're in, right? It's every man for himself. I don't think that's how we should be doing that, but that's what happens. People look out for themselves. And in this moment, it's really important to look out for everyone. And it's important to look out for people who don't have the same privileges and advantages as us in society. So I'm hoping that you guys hear that and that it makes a difference to you and that you will spread the word about this. I put the link in the chat. You can also find it on the Black Newsbeat page. You can also find it on several different people's pages who are sharing the graphics. All the graphics are linked in the link also that I shared with you. So please help us spread the word about this. Show up to your commissioners meeting tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. I'll be there along with some others to talk more about this issue. This is an extremely important issue for our community, and we want to make sure that we're tuned in. All right. Any closing words? Anything else you want to tell the folks?
Nope. Let's get it done.
Absolutely. Let's get it done. Thank you for tuning in for a special episode of the Black Newsbeat with Amanda Arbor and yours truly, Dr. Kimeka Campbell. As I say at the end of every show, big up yourselves, be kind to yourselves, and in this moment, care for others and care for people in our society who don't all have the same privileges that you do. All right? We will see you soon. I'm about to get some coffee. I'm also Elementary Coffee. Shout out to Andrea for letting us use the space this morning. We appreciate you. And we'll see you soon. Okay? Have a great morning. I know it's early. Share this video. Let others know about the issue as well. And I hope to see you tomorrow morning at the Commissioners meeting. Have a great day.
You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness. But still, like life, I'll rise.
I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless